I want to get perspective now from an attorney who formerly represented former President Donald Trump, Tim Parlatore. Tim, thanks for being here back on The Source. I mean, this is the second jury to find Trump's blame for defaming Eugene Carroll. Do you believe he accepts this?
You know, I don't. I mean, obviously, by standing up and walking out in the middle of it, I think he was kind of making his opinion known. But, you know, both of these trials, they came to results that he certainly doesn't like. I think that they probably are, you know, could have turned out differently, perhaps. But no, I don't think he's going to accept it.
I mean, you represented him. How do you think he is reacting tonight to an $83.3 million verdict from a jury, not from a judge or Democrats or President Biden, whatever he says? This is from a jury.
It is. And the crazy thing that he's probably thinking about is they awarded $5 million, you know, for the actual alleged assault, or, you know, when they found the assault, and then several magnitudes more for talking about it. You know, so I think that that's probably something that's probably going through his head right now, is the kind of disparity between the first verdict and the second verdict. And, you know, when you listen to some of the things Alina Habba says about how they were stripped of the defenses, I mean, that's right, because of the first trial. You know, had they had a different verdict in the first trial, they might have had a different set of circumstances for the second trial. But once you've tried a case, you're stuck with that conclusion.
She said outside court that she didn't regret representing Trump. But I mean, do you know both of them? Do you think it's the other way around, that he regrets having represented him in this?
I'm glad you asked me that question.
You know, I don't know. I mean, certainly, you know, from my perspective, I would regret having her represent him. I mean, I do think that in both of these trials, he was essentially undefended. And I think that it could have turned out differently. I mean, in the second trial, unfortunately, because of the way the first trial went, I don't think anybody could have won the second trial. I think that, you know, once the issues were set up from the first trial, second trial was a loser from the beginning. The question is, how big of a loser? And this goes back to, you know, a jury is going to come up with a number, and you have to put on the best presentation to them to get them to come to a lower number. And so all of these, you know, things that she did throughout the process, I don't think helps at all.
Well, what about him?
And that's also a matter of, in the courtroom, the attorney is the one who should be telling the client, you know, how to act, what to be doing, and everything else. And, you know, one thing I always tell my clients is, in the courtroom, there's only 12 opinions that matter, and yours is not one of them. Everything we do has to be guided by, what are those people in that box going to see? What are they going to hear? What are they going to think? How is it going to affect their state of mind? And I don't know whether she properly prepared him and possibly he ignored it, or if she didn't. I don't know.
You know how he is with finances. I mean, do you think he ultimately ends up, he's going to appeal this, but do you think he ultimately ends up paying $83.3 million to Eugene Carroll?
You know, I think that the appeal on this, if done correctly, is going to be one that attacks the amount, not the fact that there was a verdict, but rather, was the verdict excessive? And I think that that's where they're going to try and just knock down the number. And so I think that between that, you know, obviously he's going to have to post some kind of a bond. It's not going to be the full amount. But if they can, you know, put forth, you know, somewhat of a decent appeal on, you know, the amount of the number, and at the same time, if they do have appellate issues on the first case, that can also affect the second case. And, you know, quite frankly, if I were still there, I would be looking for a way to try and figure out, you know, how do we work out a resolution on this, a settlement, to just put this to bed and move on.
Should he reconsider having Alina Habba or his current legal team, should he reconsider having them represent him in that appeal?
Oh, yes. I mean, definitely you shouldn't have the same lawyer that did the case do your appeal. Yeah, that's generally inadvisable, because the attorney who tried the case is going to have a lot of personal biases on how they tried the case. And so you really want to have a fresh set of eyes in on it. You want to have somebody who is actually an appellate expert on it, which I do not believe Alina Habba is an appellate expert.
Tim Parlatore, thanks for joining us.